Assalamu alaikum to you all. Welcome to this web development course brought to you by BMK Online Technology Academic. In this course, we are going to focus on purely web development coding. So, as you can see at the introductory of the course, which is Wd001, that's the course code, and Introduction to Web Development, BMK Online Technology. And then our motto is empowering tech skills for digital future. So we have to move in. So now here is the module overview. This is module one, don't forget. Now, what are some of the things that you are going to expect in this module is to understand how the website works, that is the website we talked about, to understand the difference between a client and a server, and then to understand the basic of front end versus back end development, and then understand tool needed to start the web development for you to be able to create files and run them in the internet. What are some of the tools that we use in order to be able to combine different logics in order to be able to present them in the internet? So first of all, we start with how the web works. Now, when you look at the website in general, or when we look at websites, for example, when we talk about websites, when you were applying with our academic for your applications, you were able to access a link, okay, or scan the QR code and then go directly to our website. So if you look into that website, basically it is a bunch of files. So when it talks about files, you already understand what files are, as you have already get some background of computer knowledge. So files, these are just like they are just items within the computer that is a collection of data that is having a different objects in it. So the internet, it also, or let's say the websites or the web, it works exactly like that. It is files that we put inside the internet in order for other people to be able to access and see information that they want to see, and they proceed or they process whatsoever they want to process. So the web is a system of interlinked documents accessed via the internet. Now the website itself, like I have said, it is a file. So these files are documents. So it is documents that we combine together, we put them together, we create a connection between them, which is the interlink, and we upload them in the internet. So when we talk about the internet, you already understand that the internet is a global network that connects different computers all over the world. Okay, so that is about the website. Now websites are hosted on a server. So when we talk about server is just like the place where those files are kept or where those files are stored. Okay, so that is what we mean by the servers. So the servers, they are the one, let's say they are the household of all the files that we are going to prepare or that we are going to write while we are doing our development. So you as a programmer, when you are writing codes, okay, you will be writing codes which is a logical statement. Okay, it is just like when somebody says, or a lecturer, sorry, a teacher says to you, write a letter to your friend and so on. So basically, the letter there, like you are going to write something that when somebody is reading, they will able to read it and understand the full meaning of it. So website also, this is done through writing of combination of different codes which are logics. Okay, so after writing these codes, we put these codes are already a file. They are already in a file. So we put these files in the internet. Okay, so the place where these files are stored in the internet is what we call the servers. So the servers are the household of all the files or the documents that we keep in the internet. Okay, so that is why we are you are able to access uh, our details. So that is why you are able to access our website, see a lot of information. You are able to access the application form, send your information, get an automatic response email, and so on. So these are all bunch of files and codes that have logics in it. Okay, so access. So now the website also, it also works with the support of what we call browsers. So when we talk about the browsers, it's talking about those web-based applications, or let's say those applications that we have in our mobile phones or in our laptops or in our tablets. Okay, So those browsers, they are the one that will help us to fetch a data. So we as users, or you as a user or a client, when you are given a URL, for example, when somebody, like when we give you our URL, like our URL is onlineelements.rf.gd. When we send you our URL, that is the universal resource locator. That is the link that you will enter in the internet, which have how to call it, a hidden IP address that will help you to be able to access the files that we stored in the internet. So since you already understand that the internet is a global network, okay, that help to connect computers. So we also send in our data or our information into the internet, but you cannot access the information in our platform or in our website or in the internet if you don't have the correct IP address or the URL. Okay, so every URL, universal resource locator, have an IP address, unique IP address. So when it talks about the IP address, it's talking about the internet protocol, okay, that you uses to access the internet. Okay, so this is why every individual using the internet have a unique IP address, different from others, because we uses different devices. So all our devices are having unique IP address. So when we access the file, we access them through the help of the browsers, that is the web browsers like the Google Chrome, the Firefox, the Opera Mini, the Opera, and then we also have the Microsoft Edge and so on. So these are all browsers, the Microsoft Explorer and so on. These are all browsers that where we can type in our link or type in our IP address in order to access files from the internet. Okay, so they help us in fetching. So we as users, when we type in something into the internet, we perform a particular operation which we call fetching the data. Okay, so meaning we post something. Okay, so we request something from the server. So the browser will be the one that will process our request and send it to the server in the internet, and to check if it is available in the internet. And once that file is available, then you will see that the server will respond back to the browser, and that's what we see on the screen as our response. So communication between browsers and servers happen using two internet protocols. So when it talks about the internet protocol, it's talking about the HTTP and the HTTPS. So the HTTP and the HTTPS, now the hypertext transfer protocol and then the hypertext transfer protocols with an S. These two, they are all internet protocols, but they have a little difference. Like let's say in a networking aspect or in a network security aspect, we say the HTTP and the HTTPS. The PS is more secure than that of the HTTP address. Okay, but these are both protocols that we use in order to how to call it, to send and receive uh, uh, data within the internet. So their main function is to perform how to call it, a post and how to call it, and a request operation. Okay, so we can post, we can also request the information, how to call it, or the data from the internet. Okay, so they help to do two things: sending and receiving information. Okay, so that is it. So when we send the information, they participate in transferring the information to the browser and then help us to give us a feedback. So this is why we say the user send a request via the browser. So the browser is our intermediator, the middleman, okay, while we deals with the internet or the website. So the browser there will send the user send a request via the browser, okay, and when the information is sent to the browser will use these two protocols, HTTP and HTTPS, okay, and the message will be passed to the server. So the server is the main storage, or this or the part where our files are stored within the internet. Okay, so the server will respond with a web page. Okay, so but if you input something that doesn't exist within the internet, then the server will say your request is not found. Okay, so this is why sometimes when you visit some parts within the internet, you will see those kind of response, or you even see error message like error 404, which is error 404, that is telling you that this part of the file is not found, or maybe something happened to it 505. Those are all those codes, they have meaning whenever you deal with the internet. So those ones are things which have more connection with networking. So Now we have already understand that is the concept. Sorry, we have already understand the concept of the websites and how things work there. So it's good that now we see about client and servers. So two things we need to understand. So you already have a glitch of the server. So now when we talk about client, now we said the client is talking about the users, okay? You and I, okay? So we are client, okay? Whenever we access something that we do not develop, okay, that we don't have access to it background logic or to the logic behind it that is making it work in the internet, then we refer to ourselves as what? Client. So the client, let's say the user computer or the browser that sends the request. So when we access a browser, the Google Chrome, okay, we type something, we search something on Google. Even Google itself is a browser. We type something, how to call it, on the Google search engine, and then the Google have those the what we call the GNU. Okay, it have a small technology in it which help us to do the fetching of data. Okay, so now when the information is typed in the browser, the search engine will send the request. Okay, so because the browser, its main purpose is to transfer the request into the server. So the browser that sends the request. Okay, so that is the client. So we are the people who uses the computers or the browser that sends the information. So your browsers, your Google Chrome, your Google itself, your Chrome, let's say your Microsoft Edge, Firefox application, Opera Mini, these are all client, they are all categorized as clients. Now, how about the server? A powerful machine that responds to client requests. So whatsoever we send in the internet, okay, we get the response through the support of the server. So the server is the storage or the powerhouse of the internet that stores files within the global network. Now we have different files, okay? We have networking files and so on, okay? So when we talk about within the aspect of the web development here or the web here, so just understand that all our files are kept in a place where we call servers. Now the client, now what about the client here? Now the client displays contents, okay? So this is the user, you the user, okay? You display. Now when you access the internet, or let's say when you access the BMK academic website, okay, you what you see is like the client displays contents of HTML, CSS, JS, and served by the server. So when it talks about this HTML, CSS, and JS, since we are talking about web development, these are the three major things that you are going to learn. You are going to learn about HTML, you are going to learn about CSS, you are also going to learn about JS. So when it talks about the HTML here, it's talking about that part is a technology that help us to structure a particular information, which, let me say, the HTML is the backbone, or let's say is the foundation of every website or every web technology that is in the internet. So all websites that you see, they are all built using HTML structure. So the HTML is the one that contains this main skeleton where we can input all our information. Let's say like you write a huge paragraph explaining about something, or let's say you create you access an online how to call it, let's say you go into Facebook and so on, you access Facebook information, you see people write message. Okay, when people write message or a comment, or when people post something with a picture, okay, all these things are done through the support of the HTML structure, because it is the one that contains the part that we write. So we also have the CSS there, the one that will help us to do the little styling, coloring of our websites, making it look with different colors and themes, with different animations and transitions. Now JavaScript is the one that does the logic work, okay, apply some logic codes which will help us to be able to click a button to perform something like click, for example, sometimes when you visit a website, when you click a button, you, let's say you click page up, while you are down below the website, you see a page will, let's say a button will pop up which will say page up. So if you click on that button page up, it will go up. So what does, or what help you to be able to move back up, even on our computers keyboards, when we see, you will see page up and page down button. So when you press on the page up button, if you are dealing with documents, your computer, your cursor or your work will go back to the first page of your document. Huh? So we will talk more about these three things. Okay. So examples, your browser loads a BMK site from the remote server. Okay, so when you load a BMK site from a remote server, it's an example of you as the client displaying the content of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, so I know that when you first load it, you see images, you see picture, you see information, and then you also see a whole lot of things, buttons and so on. So all those things, they are the contents of the technologies that we write behind the scene, the codes that we write behind the scene. Okay, to ensure that you see it as a normal text, normal information, normal images, and so on. But there is a logic behind it. Okay, so that is it. So now uh, let's talk about front end and back end, which is also part of this model. So when we talk about front end and back end, okay, now there are two aspects in web development. Okay, some of us can become as front end developers. Some of us can come as what, back end developers. But most of the time, somebody who become a back end developer have already gotten the knowledge of a front end developer. So in that case, we refer to that person as a what, as a full stack web developer. So this front end and back end, these are two things that people are into. Okay, so when it talks about the front end, it's talking about the visible part of a website like the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript, and so on. So it's talking about the aspect where you as a developer can use without involving a whole lot of logics. Okay, so with these three aspects, there is no dynamism in it. It is more of a static, developing static websites which like they do not do a lot of things. Like when you are a front end developer, you can only do websites which where people can access information, click a button, or maybe even click a button that will direct them to do call and so on. But you cannot create anything like where people can send a form and they get automatic response. So you can see when you access our website, when you apply, when you send in your form, you automatically receive an email, a message into your email, because the website is built in both aspects. It have both the front end and the back end. So the front end is what you access, input your information, you send the message. Okay, like you as a user, that is what you are accessing. Okay, so why are you able to receive email with regards to the message of your next step within the application? Because there is a backend code, there is a backend development in it, meaning there is a logic behind it which coded or programmed those one. When users apply, they should receive an automatic response. Okay, so another aspect for you to understand more of front end is like the front end doesn't do any dynamic function. But how about the back end? This is where, for example, you as a user, you can visit websites like Amazon, you can do online buying and selling, you can do how to call it, shopping, you can order things while you are sitting at the comfort of your zone, and within the next hours you receive the things that you have ordered. How does this thing work? Why are you able to do all those things? Why are you able to enter your credit cards online and then make a payment and deduction happen? Why are you able to send money through Wave and so on? So those applications or those websites or those platforms that you are visiting, they have a back end code, meaning they have a logic behind the scene which is having a database, and then a server, and then a site operation as well. So whenever you make a request, it is stored in the database. The how to call it, the site administrator will see your request, and then they will forward the your request to the people who will able to solve your problem and so on. So that is about the concept of backend. So these are the logic codes that you add behind a website or behind an application, either a mobile app or desktop app or so on. Like our these financial apps, you can see when we can buy credit through the Wave mobile application, we can buy Navig cash power, we can send money, and it happens immediately, and we notice or we see instant how to call it, instant like the functions or the things that we did in that platform. It happens like it happens immediately as we request for it, and you will see that there will be deduction on your money or on the money that you have in your that particular platform. So why is it that it is able to do all those calculation and arithmetics? That is because that application have a back-end code. It have logic, meaning the application, it have a logic which is having a database. When we talk about the database, that part, that technology, that will help us to store any information that users request. So when you send information in the internet, when you send us your application, we have our website have a database. So everything that you send, your name, your email, your telephone number, and then the file that you upload, we have a database where we see all this information and the file that you have uploaded. Okay, so that is it, that is the database, and the server is the one that will help to do an immediate response to the request that you made. So now in the back end, now we say it handle logics, database, and server side operation. Now some of the tools or technologies that we use in order to work with back end codes is like the Node.js and then PHP. So when it talks about the Node.js or the Node application here, this is not like it is not a code, like there's nothing like coding in it. It is just an application environment, or like let's say it is an environment that will enable you to use each terminal, or you can use each terminal in order to input some logic statements that will help to create an environment for you, or that will help to create for you already built in codes, or or built in files that have been already created. It's just like uh, uh, providing a fully built-in plugin. So when it talks about plugin, it's just like a template that already exists in the internet that you can reuse. So when it talks about the PHP, this is a server side how to call it, programming language that can also help to handle the background logic within your website. So website developed with the use of a WordPress and so on, they uses PHP as their how to call it, server side. Okay, so they uses PHP to handle the server or to handle the background operations. Okay, that is the backend. So front end runs in the browsers, okay, and then the back end runs on the server. So the front end is what we see, like when we visit the websites, the forms that we send in and so on. That is the front end aspect of it. That is why we said it runs in the browsers. And when we are developing our codes, okay, for us to be able to see our code and so on, and how our code is running, or how we are developing our website, how our website look like, do we add all the necessary themes or colors, the font style, the texts, and whatsoever you want to add? Do we have images? We are able to see all these things through the front end, through the browsers. But for that of the back end, it runs on the server. So this is why when you are running or working with back ends, you need different application. Like if you are dealing with back end for which in which you intend to use JavaScript code, then you will need Node.js, and then let's say MongoDB and so on. So the Node.js, like I explained, it is the environment that will help you to run the codes, and then the MongoDB is the database that will help to keep all the files, all the things that you are doing within that platform. Okay, together both the front end and the back end, they create what we call a full stack web application. So when you have the knowledge of both these two, like now you become a full web engineer, meaning you are a full-time web engineer. You can work on any type of web platform. Okay, so because you have the knowledge of the front end, that is the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript, and you also have the knowledge of the back end application, which have to deal with some technologies and some little programming, and but this is not something which is to startle you or is to discourage you from how to call it, as you start this journey of web development. As you are going, you will get to understand more of it and how the web work. Okay, so it is not something which you understand one day, or within 1 month and so on. Even though after learning 2 months, it doesn't mean that you are fully, how to call it, you understand everything. No, the understanding comes by you trying to challenge yourself, developing different projects and so on. So we all go through that part until we reach at the level where we are. And that is why in development, in programming, even though you have a lot of knowledge in it, you can never be a mastery of it entirely, because the technologies, they continuously evolve day by day, and you have different syntax. So sometimes things can come up, and at the end of the day, before you even sort out the problem, it takes, or it, how to call it, it takes a time before you are able to solve it. But thank God now we have different technologies which we can use to help us analyze our code before we even implement it finally. So you have seen that aspect. Now let's talk about the beautiful tools, the beautiful technologies, the devices that we use in order to be able to implement our Discord. Now, some of the tools that we need, tools needed to start. Now, you as a developer, understand that the coding or the codes or the programs that we are going to write, we don't just take a normal A4 paper and we start writing and so on. No, you need a computer, and then you need the environments, those applications. It's just like when you open your laptop, okay, you need Microsoft Word to be able to write a letter, you need PowerPoint to be able to prepare slides or presentation, you need Microsoft Excel to be able to do some industrial work, creating different systems, employee database, and so on. So when it comes to programming, also when it comes to web development is programming, because you have to deal with code. So this is why whosoever is entering in this field of computer science, understanding, having a little knowledge of web development technologies, web development languages, will make things very easier for you. So when you when you are going to do the coding here, you need to understand some of the tools that we use. Now, when it talks about the tools, it's talking about those technology. As I have already explained, when you want to use Microsoft Word, when you want to write a letter, you have to use Microsoft Word. Now, first of the tool that we need a tool that we call VS Code. What does VS mean? VS simply refers to Visual Code Editor. The Visual Code Editor, this is an application that we can download from the internet, from the Google Chrome. We download it, install it in our PC, or even install it in our mobile phones. We have many applications. We have HTML editor, which is having both mobile version and desktop version. So we can also install that one as well, and then we use it to write our code. So this VS Codes is the code editor with syntax highlighting and extension. Now, we also have another application in our computer that comes with the Microsoft. It is a Microsoft application which is referred to as Notepad, and I think you know Notepad. So in Notepad, you can also use it to write your codes. But for me, I will not be using Notepad because it's not beginner friendly. In Notepad, you have to write. So, but the reason why you need to use Notepad, starting with Notepad, will help you to understand all the things that you need to understand as a programmer, like using semicolons, closing the brackets, okay, opening brackets, and so on. Using all the tools and the technologies in it will help to do a lot for you as a developer, okay. But we will be using the VS Code in order to do our programming. Now, what other things that we also need to understand, which is the browser developer tools inspection. So when we open a website, okay, or you as a developer, is also good to understand the browser developer tool inspect, okay. Now this browser tool develop this browser developer tool, it is a very good one. It is available in all the browsers that you are using, okay. What is its purpose is to inspect and debug a website. So while you are using it, or while you are dealing with website, launching your website in Chrome or Microsoft Edge or Explorer, with the help of the browser developer tool, you will be able to inspect and debug your code, okay. So as we start programming, we will get into all these things. So right now we are just doing theory aspect of it, which is module 1. Now, modern browsers, some of the browsers that we can use to launch our DOS file, because you already understand, I say that what we are going to write are going to be files. So where can we launch our DOS file? It's through the browsers, and these browsers are Chrome, Firefox, Edge, okay, for testing our website to see whether what we have right, we get exactly that. So this is why when we are writing codes, okay, we need the browsers, okay, in order to be able to test our codes. As we write, we test the codes, okay. So we also need to have what we call a GitHub and a GitHub account. Now, the GitHub is a very good thing. What is the purpose of this GitHub account? This is where you can create an account to be able to launch or upload your web files so that other people can see it. Okay, share it with people, share your codes with people. People who have experience can go through your code. Some people will even do what we call tracking of developers through the GitHub platform. And if they see that the codes that you are writing, they are very efficient, they are very readable, and they have a high quality value, some of them can easily use through that and then contact you and then employ you within